up, New York? Welcome to Pod Save America. I'm John Favreau.
I'm Melissa Murray.
I'm John Lovett.
I'm Tommy Visor.
Dan Pfeiffer is almost recovered from COVID, but couldn't quite make it. But we are so lucky to have Melissa here. Also joining us here tonight, your Attorney General, Letitia James.
We all have motion sickness from the nonstop whirl of the 24/7 news cycle. Let's step back, take a breath, and give ourselves a chance to say, okay, stop. You all know the rules. We're going to play a video. We're going to yell, okay, stop. We're going to dig our little claws in like a pigeon. When did this get added? A pigeon and a rat fighting over a Sparrow slice. Come on. But the slice is Laura Ingraham saying marijuana causes school shootings. But this week we're going to focus on, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's roll the clip.
You have to accept the fact that the government totally wants to provide surveillance on every part of your life. They want to know when you're eating. They want to know if you're eating a cheeseburger, which is very bad because Bill Gates wants you to eat his fake meat that grows in a Peachtree dish.
Okay, stop. I just want to say, I think that she knows it's Petri dish, and I think she's trying to make Petri dish sound foreign and scary.
What does she think that a Peachtree dish looks like? Like that's what that's my biggest question. Draw me a Peachtree dish.
She's also reading. So these were prepared remarks.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
So you'll probably get a little zap inside your body and that's saying, no, don't eat a real cheeseburger. You need to eat the fake burger, the fake meat from Bill Gates.
Okay, stop.
So the zap is from the space laser.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yes.
It's a Jewish space laser.
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
We will not be erased. We didn't spend all that time at our secret Jewish meetings developing plans for a space laser to have our accomplishments be erased. This isn't must-see TV, all right? We're allowed to, I don't know. I'm so sorry. I got excited. And the point is, that zap is not a space, I mean, it could be a space laser. It's more likely just indigestion.
This might be the 5G vaccine microchip talking, but I kind of like fake meat once in a while.
Yeah.
He's got me. He got me.
There's something so funny about like the fact that there has to be like an ideological valence on every fucking thing. It's like, hey, like Impossible Burgers are cool. They're trying to make fake meat that tastes just like real meat. It's like a cool accomplishment. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not liberal. There's nothing liberal about it. It's okay.
No one's pushing them on you.
Yeah, no one's making you eat
Except the
them.
companies that make them.
Yeah. I mean, eventually we will replace all the meat with the fake meat. Now we're going to be on Tucker again.
Wait.
That's twice I'm going to be on Tucker now. Fuck.
It's the fake meat like Solient Green, and it's actually made of people.
What side are you on?
I just want to know.
No, it's
Solient Green is people.
Soylent Green is people, for sure.
Solient Green is people.
All right, let's keep going.
They probably also want to know when you go to the bathroom and if your bowel movements are on time or consistent.
Okay, stop.
This is the same woman who wants to obliterate reproductive rights, like actually what people do with their bodies, but she's complaining about this.
And this happens with the 5G microchipping. It happens in moments like this. How fucking interesting do you think you are?
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, your fucking BM cycles are of no consequence to any of us. I don't care if you shit before CrossFit or after CrossFit.
Or during.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, she's always like a good point adjacent. You know? Like,
So you sort of want to know.
the NSA bulk surveillance and collection. the FISA courts. There's a lot of reasons to be worried about government surveillance. It's not because Bill Gates wants to know when you took a shit. Like, the fuck are you talking about?
And Bill Gates.
How did we get here?
And if Bill Gates wants to know when I'm pooping, he just has to ask.
I'm happy to tell. I was going to say, why is this secret information?
Yeah.
They just want you to think that all of a sudden the entire population is steadily turning gay or turning trans, just generation. Probably in about 4 or 5 generations, no one will be straight anymore.
Okay, stop. Hey, Marge, don't threaten us with a good time.
Easiest applause line right there.
One will be either gay or trans or non-conforming or whatever the list of 50 or 60 different options there are.
And I think straight will probably stay on that list. And that's what I think is important. If you get to 50, 53, straight will be there and you can pick it.
Yeah.
You may have to live somewhere else, somewhere just for you. But it'll be fine. We'll bring you whatever you need. Old Navy clothes.
You live in
Episodes of The Bachelor.
Yeah, you live in downtown Boston.
Yeah,
You go to Bruins games.
you can do your gender reveal parties. You fucking freaks.
Start a forest fire, yeah.
The point is, we're not all gay yet. And until that day comes, please head to crooked.com/pride. There you can find all about what we're doing all through June. We're fundraising for Trans Lifeline, the Trans Education Network of Texas, and Equality Florida, 3 organizations that provide incredible support for people on the ground and do a lot of activism to change laws. They're doing great work, so go to crooked.com/pride to support what they're doing right now. Coming up next, more news.
All right, let's get to the news. I know there are a lot of depressing headlines out there right now, but we wanted to brighten up your night by starting with the very detailed and public plot to steal the next election. So a real treat for Thursday night. On Wednesday, Politico obtained video of Republican operatives in Michigan plotting Election Day chaos with a network of MAGA loyalists who fall into 4 different groups. Poll workers who are trained to contest votes in heavily Democratic precincts, lawyers who the poll workers can contact with fake allegations of voter fraud, Trump-friendly district attorneys who could intervene to block the precinct vote counts, and Trump loyalists on local boards of canvassers who could refuse to certify the election. The purpose of this strategy, which Steve Bannon has been talking about for months on Tommy's favorite podcast,
Sure has.
big fan, is to create enough confusion that the election then gets thrown to the state legislatures, which Trump recently admitted to the New York Times that he's trying to stack with loyalists who will send slates of Trump electors to Congress, no matter which candidate wins. So that's where we are right now. Very exciting. Melissa, obviously lawyers, poll watchers, even poll workers from each party are part of every election. But how much of Trump and Bannon's election day strategy here is unprecedented, and is all of this legal?
So it's not unprecedented because we saw some seeds of this in the 2020 election. And you're exactly right. None of this is necessarily illegal. You are allowed to have poll watchers. They're supposed to be there to provide a sort of neutral observation of electoral processes, but you're not supposed to use poll watchers to intimidate voters, to gin up fake claims, and you're definitely not supposed to send your Trump loyalist lawyers to the courts to file these fake claims, and you're definitely not supposed to have the election thrown by a slate of fake electors. So
That's a no-no.
yeah, I mean, like in strict scrutiny, we call this sort of vibes, not law. And I think there's definitely sort of law-ish vibes here, but it's not really strictly legal. But they're definitely trying it.
And it does sound like having the DAs stopping the count and then having the boards of canvassers sort of stacked with people who are just going to refuse to certify, that doesn't seem like the best.
I mean, again, not illegal to run for office for these offices. And, for a lot of years, the Republican Party has been really assiduous in putting their people in these local positions, but this is where the rubber really meets the road. When you have the Trump loyalists there, you can really do a lot of work, and they're laying the seeds, not only for the midterm elections, but also 2024.
Yeah, and it seems like they're doing this as 2022 is a test drive for 2024 with a lot of these places.
Yeah, like a Tesla.
Like a
test driving a Tesla.
Right, yeah, that's right. So this story, I want to talk about this tonight because it's happening, this story is about Michigan. It's happening in swing states all over the country. It sort of came and went yesterday, kind of under the radar, without a ton of media coverage, or frankly, comment from a lot of Democratic officials. Tommy, why do you think that is, and what do you think the Democratic Party should do about it, knowing, as Melissa just said, that none of it is technically illegal, but clearly very troubling?
Yeah, I mean, it's also worth noting that they're primarily planning to do this in mostly black cities and precincts in Michigan, so it's a very deliberate effort. I mean, I think the challenge is Democrats are like, we got you. It's on tape. You're going to create chaos. You want to make people question the results of the election. You want to steal it again, throw it to these new electors, like, haha, we got you. And the Republicans are basically like, fucking ain't right we are. They don't care. They are open about this effort. They want to use the coverage they get when people like us freak out to recruit more people to help steal the election. So that's the problem. Like the shame spiral, the shame cycle of the typical scandal in Washington has been broken by the MAGA types because they just don't care about the allegation or the norms and institutions or what's right and what's wrong here. And so the other challenge is it's kind of esoteric stuff, what's a poll watcher, what's a poll worker, what's a board of election, all of this, it's easy to get just lost in a sea of kind of bureaucracy. And that's kind of what they're counting on. They're counting on their people being brainwashed that the 2020 election was stolen and that they need to do something about it and taking action at this super local level.
Because no one's going to pay attention, because we're not going to talk about it, the stories aren't going to get covered, Democrats aren't going to complain about it, and so they'll just keep installing these people and then they'll win. Love it?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same, to Melissa's point, it's whether it's legal or illegal, I think the point is that it's extra legal because so much of our rules, so much of our law is predicated on a certain assumption that, yes, people are partisan and people are biased, but beneath that, there's a core set of values and principles that will generally be upheld. And in the event that those are not upheld, that there is enough political pressure inside of the system to keep people, if not completely honest, prevent them from going full fash. And for the point Tommy is making, the same reason, the same trend that leads these people to be unresponsive to shame is the same reason they're willing to overturn our elections. They're not inside of a democracy with us. They're just not. And I think the answer to all of this is power. We can't argue with them. We can't out shame them. We can't make enough headlines about what they're doing.
What about a New York Times op-ed?
New York Times op-eds will not save us.
Okay.
And honestly, sometimes, I mean, look, really good ones make
really good ones by smart people.
Hold on. Listen. Present company accepted.
I do what I can.
Present company accepted. But the answer is power. We have to win locally, where these people where if we have the right people in these local offices, we don't have to worry about this. If we have a decent person running local elections, we don't need to worry about whether or not a Trump judge is going to pull the case. We don't need to worry about what, what side of the bed Gorsuch woke up on. We don't have to worry about that if we have people in those jobs. We won't have to worry about this if we keep the House and keep the Senate, because we won't have to worry about the same insurrectionists who voted to overturn the election without a majority having the power to throw our election into chaos. The answer is power. It's the only answer, because that's the only thing these people respond to.
Yeah, and that's exactly right.
Clap it up for power.
Well, and it's paying attention too.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that everyone can do. You can go to votesaveamerica.com to sign up to be a poll worker with our partner, Power the Polls. 27,000 of you signed up in 2020, and they're recruiting even more poll workers ahead of the 2022 midterm elections. Look, we have to pay attention. We have to sign up for these jobs too, whether it's becoming a poll watcher, poll worker, whether it's Secretary of State races, whether it's AG races. All these down ballot races are incredibly important, even if they don't sound the sexiest right now. Like, this is where the power gets built, as Lovett was saying. So go to votesaveamerica.com, and while you're there, sign up for our Midterm Madness program, where we'll connect you with a lot more ways to get involved and volunteer ahead of 2022. So that's super important. All right. We are also now exactly 1 week away from the first primetime congressional hearing about January 6th. And let's applaud for that. All right. Congressional hearings.
Primetime hearings, everybody. We did it.
We haven't had this kind of applause since the Mueller hearings.
Let's hope more comes of this.
Yeah.
Just some bobblehead dolls. All right, so just this week, we found out a lot more about the MAGA plot to steal the last election. We found out that former Trump aide Peter Navarro became the first White House staffer to receive a subpoena to testify in front of a federal grand jury for his role in the attack on the Capitol. A federal judge also released a memo from this lawyer to Rudy Giuliani that said he, quote, pushed a strategy, and the federal judge said this, that the memo pushed a strategy that knowingly violated the Electoral Count Act. Namely, the plan was to get Senator Chuck Grassley, who's the eldest member of the Senate and thus the most senior member of the Senate, to take over the electoral certification process from Mike Pence so that he could just throw out a bunch of Biden electors. That was one in a long list of plot. They kind of tossed that aside at one point. They had a whole list of things they were going to do. Melissa, there's obviously been a lot of focus on the January 6th hearings themselves, but what do we know about this federal grand jury? And like, what does the Navarro subpoena suggest to you? Like, is DOJ looking at charging people beyond the rioters, maybe Trump officials, maybe Trump himself, with potential crimes, and what are those potential crimes?
So let's back up. This is like the second subpoena that Peter Navarro has had. I mean,
Yeah, he's collecting them now.
like if subpoenas were spots, he'd be a cheetah, right? So he's got a lot of subpoenas.
If he gets one more, he gets a free sub.
So the first subpoena is important because that came from the Select Committee, and he refused to comply with that, which then prompted the House to hold him in contempt and refer his contempt charges to the DOJ, which then sparked this new subpoena from the federal grand jury. So this is coming from the Department of Justice's investigation. And, you know, one of the things I think it signals is that the DOJ, which has been moving, I think, very deliberately, is a generous way to put it.
I was going to say, you went with the very nice term.
Yeah, that's very
Glacially.
With all deliberate speed. They've been moving toward this, but it seems like they're moving away from the actual rioters from January 6th and starting to join up the riot itself with the machinations that may have been happening in the then former president's orbit on January 6th. And Navarro is very much in the thick of this. So, you know, will it lead to criminal exposure, criminal liability for Navarro? I don't know. Will it lead to criminal liability for anyone else further up the chain? I don't know, but it seems like things are moving closer to the White House.
And this law is like, is it obstruction of a congressional proceeding? Is that like a law that has been...
I haven't heard of it being used in the past, but I mean, that's kind of what was going on.
Here,
That's
right?
what I mean, it probably hasn't been used in the past because no one ever tried to do this before.
Can I ask you something? Because like we're all like, hey, Merrick Garland, get going. Like, you know, charge Trump if you need to charge Trump. But I can imagine, like, if you're Merrick Garland and you're the DOJ and you have to make a decision about potentially bringing criminal charges against a man who may be your boss's primary opponent in the next election, like, that goes sort of beyond unprecedented into this other, like, how do you even make that decision?
But they've said that. They've telegraphed that from the beginning with, you know, the way they came into the administration was with this idea that they were going to restore morale to the DOJ, sort of strip the department of this veneer of partisanship that it had been imbued with during the Trump years and get it back to sort of being an independent administrative body outside of the White House. And I think that's a really hard thing to do while you're also balancing this investigation that goes to the former occupant and, you know, by some accounts, the prospective new occupant, if some people have their way,
Yeah.
of the White House going forward. So I think it's a delicate line to walk. And this is not to excuse the glacial pace with which he has moved, but I think it's a lot to balance.
It's gonna be hard.
I feel
Boo
bad for
fucking
him.
who?
I love it. I was trying to bait you here. I was like, someone go.
Here's the thing. We have tried the Comey method. And the Comey method is worry first about the appearance of nonpartisanship and let your decisions flow from that. That plane crashed into the fucking mountain. Does not work. Does not work. Let's try the other thing of just following the law to where it leads. And
But can you imagine the op-eds?
Yes, I can. But like,
Can you imagine the op-eds if Merrick Garland does that? Oh boy.
one thing that has been signaled, though, again and again, and that's happened here too. They keep making this point over and over again because I think it must be a sensitive question, right? They keep saying, not only do we believe this is evidence of law breaking, but we believe it is evidence of law breaking with knowledge that what they were doing was breaking the law. And I feel like that's important, especially here, because we are playing with such kind of fundamental questions of what it really means to break laws that haven't really been considered broken before, right? Like, we are playing at the kind of like foundational level of how our government is supposed to work, which also makes it trickier, which is why it's interesting they keep coming back to that idea.
Well, it's not just, that these are laws that haven't been broken before, but so much of governance isn't about law, but about norms. And it's the norms that were eroded over the past 4 years. And now the question is, do we need to promulgate laws to fill in what was lost when we strip these norms of their content?
Seems like we do, but it seems like we need to get by a few things to get that majority first to pass those
Well,
laws.
Yeah, I
There's
mean, it's so
that.
confusing because there's also there's a grand jury in Georgia too, and Brad Raffensperger, the Republican Secretary of State, testified, I guess, maybe Monday in front of them. What's he talking about? Same kind of shit?
Well, tell you what, Trump trying to overturn the election there. But I do think the intention, what you were saying, Lovett, they're trying to go after the intention here because in that that memo from that random lawyer to Rudy Giuliani, they said that one of the reasons that they wanted Grassley in there is to, quote, insulate Mike Pence and Donald Trump from any criminal liability, which means that they certainly thought that there was criminal liability there if Mike Pence just decided to overturn the election, which I guess proves intention.
Where do you think Rudy found this lawyer? Like a billboard on the West Side Highway?
Very late at night on television.
I think he's at a cigar bar. He's got 3 fingers.
Back page? Someone said back page.
Back page. Different bucket of issues.
Don't interrupt me while I'm talking about his drinking.
It was such a good joke, though. I had to bring it up. It wasn't mine.
Anyway, you were saying?
No, I'm not finishing my point. That's your fault.
Oh no.
So keep going, John.
Tommy, clearly, as you can all tell, there's like too much information about January 6th to digest right now. The hearings haven't even started yet. Like, just today we get another tranche of Mark Meadows' texts. I had to check the article because I was like, I thought the texts already came, but there were more texts. Here's my favorite. My favorite text. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene to Mark Meadows. Last night, Senator Graham told me that if I found 100 names of dead voters in Georgia, that he would object. I have 100 dead voters' names. And then 1 minute later to Mark Meadows, just in case he probably didn't respond within that minute. Tell President Trump! Exclamation.
It's so good.
You found the dead names.
She also, in that text, asked Mark Meadows for Lindsey Graham's cell.
Yep.
The guy is the White House chief of staff, ostensibly one of the most powerful human beings on the fucking planet, and he is attaching contacts.
Well, he's getting a string of texts from Ginny Thomas. He's getting them from MTG now. I would have given out Lindsey Graham's number in a second. I would have been like, here's Lindsey Graham's number, here's Donald Trump's number, here's
Remember
all
when
the
Trump
numbers.
read Lindsey Graham's number aloud at an event?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
There's
fun.
precedent for this.
Anyway, we're getting lots of details again. Tommy, if you were in charge of choreographing these hearings, what is the essence of the story that you would want to get across to people?
First, I just want to second whatever Lovett was going to say. In terms of the hearings, I think we have to make a case that this is not just about relitigating the past, but about the future and preventing a worse outcome down the road. Because I think one of the lessons from impeachment and Bob Mueller and that whole morass we got sucked into was what voters ultimately heard was Washington infighting, like typical partisan back and forth, and they just didn't love it. And so I think success here is you lay out a bunch of facts that are reported and become, informed voters. There's potentially referrals to DOJ and some sort of accountability for people that did conspire to overturn an election. And then essentially you're just waking everybody the fuck up to say this is happening now. I mean, we're talking about January 6th in the 2020 effort to overturn the election as they are doing a better job organizing for the future. And like that to me is the really scary part that just seemingly isn't breaking through.
Love it. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think it's about Republican extremism. There was that poll we talked about a few weeks ago. The most salient quality people think of when they think of Republicans is extremism. The most salient quality when they think of Democrats is weakness. Not ideal. But I do think that years of coverage of Trump, years of coverage of these sort of right-wing Republicans that has landed with people. There's a reason that President Biden has started referring to kind of MAGA Republicans, and I think pointing out that we are trying to fight against extremism and the dangers extremism pose to our democracy, to women on questions of reproductive care and abortion, extremism on guns. I feel like that is a thread that ties together a lot of the threats we're facing where we have a very big majority on our side.
Melissa, what about you? What do you think is what should be the main takeaway from this story?
I think part of this is about showing the American public how these pieces link together, because like right now, the two narratives are sort of these disembodied events, the riot at the Capitol, and then these machinations, alleged machinations that are happening in the White House, and to show that this is all part of the same thing, and the thing rots at the head. The rot started in the Oval Office, and it then led to the Capitol. They're not disembodied, they're actually completely joined up, and they're still joined up to this day.
Yeah, I think that's important. And then to Lovett and Tommy's point, that rot is sort of political extremism that's turned into violence. And it turned into violence on January 6th, and it could turn into violence again. And this is no longer just a debate about Republican versus Democrat, conservative versus liberal. This is about a faction in this country that has incited violence and will again if they do not gain power. I mean, that is just, and I think it's going to be a tough struggle because I'm sure all the Democrats on the committee and Cheney and Kinzinger are all like, of course we want to focus on the future. The media will naturally gravitate to the explosive details that are revealed, which will all be about the past. So it's going to be a constant struggle for the people on the committee to sort of push the narrative forward to be about the future because all the coverage will be about, oh, then this happened and this happened in the past.
And I do think one other piece of this, I know we're a bit inert to it, but it is striking even in seeing these texts, and we saw another tranche of them, many of which I think repeated what we had seen in the past, but no one understood the connection between what was happening at the Capitol and what was happening at the White House than Trump's biggest supporters. Laura Ingraham understood it. Sean Hannity understood it. Don Jr. understood it. Reince Priebus understood it. Yeah, eventually they came to decide that it was Antifa. But isn't it strange? Isn't it strange? They thought that the Antifa at the Capitol would leave if Trump told them to. Isn't that an interesting contradiction?
All right. We will be back in a bit with more news. The presenting sponsor of this episode of Pod Save America is Simply Safe Home Security. You guys know we love the break-in protection that our Simply Safe Home Security system gives us, but it's not always the outside forces you need Simply Safe's protection from. You've heard Josh's story about the pizza rolls literally 15 times now.
I hope it has a different ending this time.
Yeah, so the whole house went up in flames.
Just kidding, Josh.
Come on.
Nope.
No,
Come
it didn't
on.
happen. The reason it has the same ending is because of Simply Safe.
Thank you, Simply Safe.
Simply Safe alerted Josh when the pizza rolls caught on fire in the oven, and now he's fine. And he's pretty grateful for his alarm system, as is John Lovett, who's had Simply Safe for quite some time.
I just wanted the pizza rolls to make it, just to be clear.
Oh, yeah, they never make it. Maybe in one of these versions, the pizza rolls will make it.
Good.
Yeah,
Love it.
maybe it's an everything, everywhere, all at once situation.
Oh.
There's a universe where the pizza rolls survive.
I didn't see that movie.
Oh,
yet.
why? Because you hate nice things.
I don't go to movies. I have a child.
Those don't seem to follow.
I don't know. Seems
Well, yeah,
you don't go to
gotta-
movies. That's
okay.
weird. I've seen you out and about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you're only at home.
Yeah, it's when you
You're living your
when
life.
you get a chance to go out. When you get a chance to go out,
You
what
see one of the
wanna-
best movies
What you
in a
want to
theater.
do is not talk to people. You want to sit in a movie theater.
Once in a while. Hell yeah.
I mean, I'd love to.
Why is he putting down the
Why
cinema?
don't you guys come
I don't
babysit?
know.
I'll go.
It seems like you're not making an argument for why you can't do things. You're making an argument for why you don't think
This
movies
is a brand
are worth
new
it.
movie. This movie just out a month ago. I'll get to it.
The
I
point-
want to see
The
it.
point is, finish the ad. The point is,
Point is, you can customize the. I forgot where we were for a minute. Protecting people when they're guarded down is just one of the reasons more than 4 million people use and love Simply Safe. With a comprehensive Simply Safe system and 24/7 professional monitoring, you always have someone looking out for you. Plans cost under $1 a day, with no long-term contracts or hidden fees ever. You can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/crooked. Go today and claim a free indoor security camera plus 20% off. With interactive monitoring, go to simplysafe.com/crooked. Pod Save America is brought to you by FrameBridge. FrameBridge makes it easier and more affordable than ever to frame your favorite things without ever leaving the house. From art prints and diplomas to the photos sitting on your phone, you can FrameBridge just about anything. With Father's Day around the corner, FrameBridge also makes the perfect gift. In fact, select gifts ship next day. Here's a reminder of how it works. Just go to framebridge.com and upload your photo, or they'll send you packaging to safely mail in your physical pieces. Preview your item online in dozens of frame styles and gallery wall layouts. Choose your favorite or get free recommendations from their talented designers. The experts at FrameBridge will custom frame your item and deliver your finished piece directly to your door ready to hang. Instead of the hundreds you'd pay at a framing store, their prices start at $39, and all shipping is free. Plus, our listeners will get 15% off their first order at framebridge.com when they use the code CROOKED. Order online at framebridge.com or stop by a FrameBridge store to work with a designer in person if you're in New York, D.C., Atlanta, Philly, Boston, or Chicago.
I framed my ticket stub to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
You did?
Yeah.
Where are you going to hang it?
I don't wherever
Just
I'm allowed.
like when you walk in to make sure everyone
As
can
long
see
as
that you
there's
went.
No spoilers.
So that everyone knows.
do people
Love
in
it.
Boston frame something like aspirational, like a picture of New York?
You're still proud of that joke,
Son
huh?
of a bitch.
Still proud of that
taking
joke.
it out again. You know,
We're just calling back.
Get started today. Frame your photos or send someone the perfect gift. Go to framebridge.com and use promo code CROOKED to save an additional 15% off your first order. Just go to framebridge.com, promo code CROOKED, framebridge.com, promo code CROOKED. Pod Save America is brought to you by Article. Article's launched their new line of outdoor products for summer 22. Think oversized statement loungers, streamlined dining pieces, and easy-to-style sofas for all your backyard needs. With 42 new pieces, plus a selection of bestsellers from seasons past, Article has what you need to outfit the deck of your dreams this summer. Article combines the curation of a boutique furniture store with the comfort and simplicity of shopping online. Article's team of designers focuses on beautifully crafted pieces, quality materials, and durable construction. They're dedicated to a modern aesthetic of mid-century Scandinavian industrial and bohemian designs. Fast, affordable shipping is available across the USA and Canada and is free on orders over $999. All in-stock items are delivered in 2 weeks or less. They got fair prices. You can save up to 30% over traditional retail prices. Article is able to keep their prices low by cutting out the middleman and selling directly to you. No showrooms, no salespeople, and no retail markups. Article's offering our listeners $50 off their first purchase of $100 or more. To claim, visit article.com/crooked and the discount will be automatically applied at checkout. That's article.com/crooked to get $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. Pod Save America is brought to you by Real Paper. If you're like me, you're always looking to make sustainable swaps throughout your home. Maybe something that's not wrapped in plastic, doesn't use any harmful chemicals, and hopefully doesn't involve chopping down any trees. Luckily, it seems like there are more and more alternatives every day that I love to use at home and can keep our earth beautiful at the same time. My new favorite sustainable swap, we always talk about our favorite sustainable swaps here. It's just in casual conversation.
Right, yeah.
This one is Real Paper. Real makes a sustainable toilet paper that uses fast-growing bamboo and is always shipped in plastic-free packaging, even down to the tape on the box.
This sounds better than wiping with light bulbs like the other swap you had made previously.
That's a tough swap.
terrible.
I don't even know how
Well,
to...
it was one of the low energy filament ones, non-filament.
The great thing about bamboo, Tommy, is that it's grass.
It's grass.
And just like a lawn, it can be cut and regenerated without harming the plant or the soil. So they're able to harvest the same plant over and over instead of cutting down trees. And this is certainly preferable over the usual plastic-wrapped TP that comes from our old-growth forests. The conventional stuff contributes to deforestation and habitat loss, all for something that we use once and then flush down the toilet.
It's all redwoods normally.
Again, that doesn't feel good.
No.
I like using this toilet paper
Yeah.
on my butt. I like using it.
For the reasons.
For the reason that you use toilet
assume,
paper. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Feels good.
Okay.
Is it soft? Is it strong? Do you like the convenience of the subscription? Yes. Yes, yes. It's soft, it's strong. I do like the convenience. All of the above.
Punchy today.
Real Paper is available in easy, hassle-free subscriptions or for one-time purchases on their website. All orders are conveniently delivered to your door with free shipping and 100% recyclable plastic-free packaging. If you head to realpaper.com/crooked and sign up for a subscription using our code crooked at checkout, you'll automatically get 30% off your first order and free shipping. That's REELPAPER.com/crooked or enter promo code crooked to get 30% off your first order plus free shipping. So let's stop flushing our forests and give Real's tree-free paper a try. 0 trees, 0 plastic, 0 compromises with Real. All right, let's get back to the news. So just an hour before the show started, President Biden gave a speech urging Congress to address America's gun violence epidemic. An epidemic which now sadly includes yet another mass shooting just on Wednesday that left 5 dead at a hospital in Tulsa, including the killer. So House Democrats are going to try, apparently next week, to pass a law that cracks down on ghost guns and large capacity magazines while raising the gun purchasing age from 18 to 21. Nancy Pelosi said also separately they will take up an assault weapons ban. And I will say from Biden's speech, he also advocated for all of these measures as well. Unlikely that any of that passes the Senate, unfortunately, but there's a bipartisan group of senators there who say they're making progress on a package that might include expanding background checks, funding for mental health services and school security, and incentives for states to pass red flag laws that would allow authorities to confiscate firearms from people deemed to be threats to themselves and others. So, Lovett, there's a lot of we're closer than we've ever been talk coming out of Congress right now on this. How skeptical or hopeful are you, and what do you think about the potential deal that's coming together here?
I would say that I am skeptical about them doing something hopeful. But I'm hopeful about something I'm quite skeptical about. The last time we were this close to passing something was after Sandy Hook. That was a background check bill that failed in the Senate, even though it was a bipartisan compromise. All but a few Republicans were against it. 4 Democrats who were from states like, at the time, North Dakota, Montana, Arkansas, also voted against it. I think that you do feel even now there has been a shift, right? I think all Democrats will be united in favor of this kind of a compromise, and even the compromise they're discussing in the Senate goes a bit beyond what was discussed back then. That said, you look at what's being discussed in the Senate, and then you look at what someone like McConnell has been saying, right? There's conversation about mental health. There's conversation about hardening schools.
Doors. Don't forget the doors.
Unbelievable.
Fewer doors. That'll do it.
That was the senator from Cancun.
Yeah.
The senator from Cancun.
It's Ted Cruz.
Yes.
Fuck Ted.
Door control. That's what we need. Door control. So what McConnell has said is he's open to a conversation about things like mental health and beefing up school security, and then talks about the importance of upholding the Second Amendment. I am very I think it is possible to get something on mental health. It's possible to get something on security, though you can't secure the world from these things. It is unlikely that we get a very strong, obviously we're not going to get a ban on assault weapons. Hard to imagine even getting the age raised to 21, even though that would make a massive difference. But the question is, can we get something on red flags and background checks? I think we honestly don't know. I think right now we don't know if that's possible. And we also don't know what Democrats would do if it became clear that we couldn't even get something as paltry as that. Is it worth doing just something on mental health and school security if we can't get something on red flag, we can't get something on background checks? I don't know. It feels like a moment where we have to do something. But I think it's still reasonable to have some hope. There can be something on red flag laws, something on background checks.
Yeah, I think that the challenge you get in the Senate is because you have Manchin and Sinema who want to get rid of the filibusters, so you need to count to 10 on the Republican side. Once you get past your Susan Collins, Murkowski, Romney, Republicans who are retiring, you basically get into either extremely conservative Republicans or Republicans who want to be the next Mitch McConnell. And none of the Republican senators who want to be the next Mitch McConnell want to get to the left of any of their other competitors. So, like, John Cornyn's been talking to Chris Murphy for a year about red flag laws and stuff like that. But if John Thune or John Barrasso or any of these other Republicans who want to challenge John Thune for leader see that he's for red flag laws, then they'll give him shit with the rest of the caucus. So the Republican caucus is so extreme that it is very difficult to imagine 10 Republican senators getting together to agree to even the most minor reforms, unless it's a red flag. And I don't know, maybe you set up a red flag law so that it is so broad, and I don't know how you might do this, that like it somehow pleases Republicans, because I'm sure they're going to be mad that some judge is going to take away people's guns.
Well, and also just to your point, like the question then isn't about getting 10. It's because some of the pressures inside the caucus, you're starting to think like, okay, what's something that would get 20 Republican votes, where they'd feel they'd have some protection to go along with
Exactly. And that doesn't seem like a very stringent gun law that would get 20. Melissa, so while Congress debates doing like literally anything about guns, we're also waiting for what might be the Supreme Court's most important Second Amendment ruling in more than a decade. Can you talk a little bit about what that case is about and the implications that the ruling could have?
Sure. So currently pending before the court is a case called New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, and it is a challenge to New York State's concealed carry permitting regime. And this was argued in the November sitting. There were about 11 cases in the November sitting. This is the only one for which a decision has yet to be announced. So hold on to that for a minute. It was very clear at oral argument in November that there were definitely 5 justices who were ready to expand the scope of the Second Amendment, which had been expanded by the court in 2008 in Heller versus the District of Columbia, to allow for a Second Amendment right of individuals to maintain firearms for the purposes of home defense. This would obviously expand that further to allow for public carrying of weapons. And the only question that appeared in that oral argument was whether states would still be permitted to cordon off quote-unquote sensitive areas where there could still be restrictions on public carry, like stadia or school campuses or things like that, or the New York subway, as Elena Kagan, an inveterate New Yorker, kept mentioning. And so I'm going to come back to this idea that this case seemed pretty clear back in November, and it's been a long time. And the court is winding down now and trying to push out all of the leftover opinions, and this one's still outstanding. And I wonder if they have this in the can, ready to go, but they're finally able to read the room and realize that they can't release an opinion blowing open the Second Amendment in this political climate right now.
They're going to wait for like the 24 hours where there's not a mass shooting to get it out there?
Yeah, right.
Or, I mean, maybe they think that the temperature will lower a little bit and there will be a better time. But they were supposed to release opinions on Monday and nothing came out, which is really, really surprising, given the timing.
We're in June.
Yeah, we're in June. It's go time. And nothing. And so I just wonder if, even they are wary of being incredibly ghoulish in this moment.
Can I say, like, what are the implications of this ruling? Because I read somewhere, like, could it mean that states that pass laws to prevent people from carrying handguns in public, like, it would overrule that? Like, they would not be able to pass those laws?
It's not immediately obvious that all concealed carry regimes would be invalidated. New York's was especially discretionary, gave a lot of discretion to policymakers and the officials to decide who could have a permit and who couldn't. And so I think it would depend on the level of discretion. But I think what it would entail is that there are going to be more challenges in other states. And my strict scrutiny co-host, Kate Shaw, had a terrific op-ed.
And they're so important right now.
This one was really
Kate's
important.
op-ed was great.
So this is an op-ed that Kate wrote with John Bash, who was the Scalia clerk who worked on the Heller opinion. Kate clerked for Justice Stevens and was the clerk who helped him write that dissent. And basically, they argue that Heller is not to be construed. It wasn't intended to be construed as this sort of, bomb that you put on any kind of gun reform legislation. And Republicans are great at this, but Heller, the Second Amendment, but Heller. And Kate and John, I think, lay out the case very well that, Heller does expand the scope of the Second Amendment to some degree, but it is not intended to eliminate any prospect of meaningful gun reform. And in fact, Justice Scalia specifically says that there can be reasonable gun reform and enumerates the kind of gun reform that you might have. And so what Heller has really done, in addition to expanding the scope of the Second Amendment, is actually served as a really potent deterrent to doing anything. And that's something that it shouldn't be allowed to do.
Yeah, we shouldn't see it that way.
Yeah.
So, Tommy, guns have already become a big issue in the midterm campaign. Democratic candidates like John Fetterman, who's running for Senate in Pennsylvania, he recently said that the party needs to be ruthless on gun control and get rid of the filibuster to pass it, which is great. Meanwhile, Republicans like Mo Brooks of Alabama recently said that the Second Amendment exists to, quote, take back our government should it become dictatorial. This is someone who's running for Senate in Alabama. North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson said he owns an AR-15, quote, in case the government gets too big for its britches. He's rumored to be running for governor of North Carolina in 2024. And Pennsylvania gubernatorial nominee Doug Mastriano said this about gun control just the other day, quote, we saw Hitler do the same thing in Germany in the 30s. Hitler references, always great in politics.
Yeah.
Tommy, do you think Republican candidates have landed on the most effective swing state messages on guns
Oh, absolutely. Also Beto O'Rourke, I think, deserves a shout out for
Yes.
fighting the good fight on guns in Texas. I mean, I do think lifting up examples like you just did is really important because it shows how extreme the Republican Party is on guns for a couple reasons. One, it just shows their utter indifference to the events around them. I mean, children being murdered. But it also shows, it's part of this broader story that we were talking about earlier about extremism of the GOP. Because these guys go to these crazy places, like everything is this like paranoid fantasy where like a minor, modest gun control law is a slippery slope to tyranny, or they get into this weird like vigilante cosplay fantasy where every teacher is one Glock away from being Rambo. It's like they all sound like Mark Wahlberg when he said he would have stopped the 9/11 hijackers. Do you guys remember this? Mark Wahlberg gave an interview where he said if he had been on that plane, shit would have gone differently. That actually happened.
That.
Anyway, these are not fringe people, though. Like, Doug Mastriano could be the next governor of Pennsylvania, and he's not the first guy to drop the fucking Hitler argument. Ben Carson did this in 2016 and had to apologize for it. And so, the point is, compromising with these people is going to be really hard. Mitch McConnell has spent 2 decades blocking any kind of meaningful gun reform. So the only solution here is going to be making sure that people understand the stakes here, communicating to our base, and turning people out.
It's also yes.
And voting. Voting is good.
It's also you step back for a second and you look at what their answers are, and it's give police tanks, make police more heavily arm the police with even more and more powerful weapons, turn our schools into jails, put security everywhere. They want guns to protect themselves against a police state, and then they want us to live in a police state to protect us against the guns that they've flooded our society with.
But I also think, to Tommy's point too, it is worth noting the shift in rhetoric from a lot of these Republicans, right? Like the argument about guns and gun rights used to be, want my gun for hunting, and maybe I want a handgun to protect my family. And now it's very openly saying, no, we want guns to overthrow the government if we need to. like that is just like it's the same shift on abortion, on gay rights, on almost every one of these cultural issues. They are now so overstepping and so going so far to the extreme that I do think that they have lost the plot in terms of where most of the country is. Most people don't own guns because they think they're going to overthrow the fucking government right now. That is crazy.
Or that they're living in Red Dawn and a couple of random well-armed citizens could fight off either the German government and German military in the late 30s or the U.S. military. What the fuck are we talking about?
It's also, look, they also, in their feverish imaginations, 100% of the members of their little militia are white. And they would not be so happy to see a group of armed black people threatening the government because they're worried about their freedom, their right to exist without living in fear. So it's all, I think it's all fucked.
I think historically speaking, that was the only time the NRA started to come out in support of gun laws. Gun control, yeah.
What it raises the questions, of course, like what should Democratic candidates and the rest of us do and say about this issue between now and November? How big of an issue should we make it in the midterms?
I mean, pretty central. I mean, I have a question back for you, which is that you guys, Joe Biden did a primetime Oval Office address this evening about this issue. Panacea? Going to solve the problem? Good way to communicate, bad way? What do you think?
Yeah, speeches always solve problems.
What do you think, speechwriters?
Look,
I'll say Cornel Belcher has been talking about this, and I think he makes a really good point, which there are tens of millions of women in this country. They are who helped Democrats win the House in 2018. They are helped deliver the White House in 2020. And they are motivated by access to reproductive care and bodily autonomy. They are motivated by safety for their children in schools. That is a coalition that we can bring together to kind of overcome some of the obstacles we knew we were always going to face going into this midterm.
Well, you also don't need to make them two separate issues. Like, raising your children in conditions of safety is a reproductive justice issue.
yeah.
And it's good to see, people are kind of dusting off their desire to get out in the streets, to march, to go to rallies, right? There was a big pro-reproductive rights rally, when was that, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? There's another big gun control rally on June 11th.
Yeah,
It's
March
coming
for
up.
Our Lives is
March for Our
organizing
Lives.
across the country.
I do think that kind of direct action is really important because, to your point, Levitt, should Congress bank a law right now, even if it's really modest and doesn't solve the problem? My vote would be yes. I would say bank whatever we can bank, because if you can save one life, you save one life, and then keep going and try to fight the next fight.
Yeah. But I think the reason that all of this organizing, like what March for Our Lives is going to do Saturday the 11th, everyone should find a rally or a march in your local city. The reason it's so important is because we are fighting against just shortening attention spans from all of us and from the media. There was a really depressing chart that showed sort of the number of clicks, social media posts, sort of attention on gun violence after different mass shootings.
Mm-hmm.
And the last ones, they would spike, and then they would sort of go down slowly. Parkland spiked really high, and then it took a long time for it to finally die down. And after Buffalo, it was 3 days. And then already after last week, it was down after 24 hours, 48 hours. So we are not going to, it's good that Joe Biden gave a speech, of course. Is Joe Biden's speech going to fix this? Absolutely not. But Joe Biden and every single Democratic official and every single Democratic candidate and every single activist and all of us should be talking about this issue and reproductive justice and all these issues every single day. And we should be out there on the doors talking to people, because we cannot count on the media to give these issues attention all the time. That's not going to work. What's going to work is pounding the pavement, knocking on doors, going to these rallies day after day after day between now and November.
And Parkland didn't stay in the news because it was more interesting or people cared more. It stayed in the news because those students who were a victim of that horror stayed out there every day. They were on the news. They were doing bus tours around the country. They were bringing in kids from other parts of the country who hadn't been a part of the violence, and they led a massive march. And that's got to be the next step.
It is entirely up to us. It is entirely up to us. And before we bring out the Attorney General, we do want to recognize another example of very successful organizing, particularly here in New York. It began last August up in Buffalo with 2 stores that wanted to organize for better pay and working conditions. And here's a clip of Bernie Sanders telling us what happened next.
That union organizing effort at Starbucks is spreading like wildfire all across the country. In fact, last Friday, workers in New York City successfully voted to form the first Starbucks union roastery and 10th union Starbucks coffee shop in the country. And in the coming weeks and months, Starbucks workers in some 170 other coffee shops in 27 states will be holding union elections.
So last week, Starbucks Workers United hit a huge milestone. Its 100th store voted to unionize. We can expect many more in the coming months. To tell us more about their success is Will Westlake, a barista and organizer from just outside of Buffalo. Will, come on up. Hey there. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hey there.
Yes, so thank you guys so much for the introduction. Thank you, Bernie Sanders. Can't say that enough. Yeah, this is a really exciting movement. We now, as we just said, have more than 100 stores that have organized across the country. We're winning in Buffalo, we're winning in Seattle, in Starbucks' hometown, we're winning in Deep Blue, Vermont, and we're winning in Deep Red, Oklahoma. And you know, I really can't stress enough just the resilience and the amazing people that I work with shoulder to shoulder every day behind the bar. And you know, for those of you who didn't know about this movement, I'm really excited to share this with you. But I also want to talk about how hard it has been to be a part of this movement, because what we have seen from Starbucks, from the company, is one of the worst union-busting campaigns in recent US history. And you know, when 44 of my fellow baristas and I wrote a letter to you know, then CEO Kevin Johnson, we asked for a fair election, we asked for Starbucks to respect the law. Just in the last couple of weeks, the National Labor Relations Board has found merit in over 200 violations by Starbucks in Buffalo alone of the National Labor Relations Act. And you know, this from a company that claims to be a progressive company. And you know, Melody Hobson, who was just honored at MoMA this Tuesday in New York City, who's the chair of the board of directors, claims that there hasn't been any union busting going on at all from the company. But when we wrote a letter to her a few months ago, she didn't respond to us directly. Instead, she used Littler Mendelsohn, one of the most notorious union busting law firms, the same people that Walmart employs to bust their workers' unions, to send a response that further attacked the union, further tried to say that this wasn't the worker-led movement and the inspirational campaign that it has been. And you know, this is coming from someone, Melody Hobson, who actually has made millions off of union pensions herself. So, you know, I think I can't stress enough just the amount of pressure that baristas have been under and the resilience that we've had. We now have over 300 stores that are going to be going into elections in the next couple of months, and here's to 1,000 stores.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Great work. Okay, when we come back, Lovett and Melissa will talk to Attorney General Letitia James. Primetime America is brought to you by Airly. Too often, you have to choose between snacks that are delicious or snacks that are good for you. Finally, there's one that's delicious, good for you, and good for the planet.
Trifecta.
Airly recently launched the world's first climate-friendly crackers that actually remove greenhouse gases from the air. They put their carbon footprint right on the package. Each box removes between 18 to 21 grams of CO2 from the air. The whole grain oats are always the number one ingredient, and they're made with 100% real cheese, cocoa butter, and brown sugar. Talk about how surprised you are that it's good for the planet and tastes good. Yeah, it's amazing to think that a cracker you can eat could actually be contributing to healing our planet and to getting some of that carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, because it sounds tough.
Sounds hard to do.
It sounds hard to do, but our friends at Airly have done it, and good for them, because they've made a delicious cracker that's also pretty healthy. Available at select retailers and online at Amazon.com and airlyfoods.com. Go to airlyfoods.com/crooked to take a delicious bite out of climate change. And be sure to use our promo code crooked at checkout to save 25% off your order. Plus, Airly is so confident you'll love these things. They're backed by a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Don't like them for any reason, they'll refund your money, easy as that. Remember, get your next box of climate-friendly and totally delicious crackers at AIRLYFOODS.com/crooked and use the code crooked to get 25% off. And thank you, Airly, for sponsoring this episode. Pod America is brought to you by Future. Future believes that people motivate people, and having your own future coach isn't just the best approach, it's the only sustainable approach to your health and fitness. Future has built the most talented team of fitness coaches on the planet, and when you join Future, you get paired with the one that's right for you, your goals, and your experience. Future provides you with your own expert coach who gives you personalized daily coaching and a workout plan built just for you, all through the Future app. Future coaches are your experts, partners in fitness, and regardless of how often you work out, your Future coach will be there for you every day. So it's Memorial Day weekend, so Gabe is off, as he should get the weekend off. And I decided to go to a workout class that the three of us have often attended in the past. And I sign up for a 12:30 class, and I drive there into, it's hard to find parking. I found parking.
It's hard to park there.
And at 12:30 p.m. on the dot, I go up to the front desk and I say, okay, I'm here to check in. We're sorry, John, we gave your spot away to someone on the wait list. And I said, but it's 12:30. This is the time of the class. Sorry, we can credit you a shake. And I said, you know what? I'm going back to Gabe forever.
Did you get
Future
did you
forever.
Did they let you into that class at all?
No, they did not.
You had
'cause
to
it was full.
leave?
Yeah, I left.
You had to leave?
Drove all the way there and back. Yeah.
Did you throw a fit?
Tommy, I was calm. I didn't even text you guys at the time. I decided I'd wait for the ad.
Oh.
I was gonna text you guys how outraged I was.
You like
and
it a surprise.
Hey,
Took
how's
a couple deep breaths, and then I went home and I used an old Future workout because they are great.
Tough for people to work out at this fancy studio when it's burning to the ground.
Yeah, and guess what? They're not going to have a Simply Safe home security system inside to alert
Right.
them either.
Yeah.
Future isn't a fancy piece of equipment. This isn't a get fit quick plan, and this isn't a YouTube video. With daily coaching and tailored workout plans, your Future coach will support you through every step of your fitness journey. There's no risk to try Future, and right now you can get 50% off your first 3 months and cancel anytime during the first 30 days at tryfuture.com/crooked. That's tryfuture.com/crooked. Always dependable. Future. Pod Save America is brought to you by Keeps. There are only 2 FDA-approved medications that can prevent hair loss. Keeps offers both. Keeps offers a simple, affordable, and stress-free way to keep your hair via convenient virtual doctor consultations and medications delivered straight to your door every 3 months. You don't even have to leave your home. There's 24/7 care and support. They got a network of expert medical advisors, prescribers, and care specialists to support you in making your hair goals a reality. Treatments start at just $10 per month, and Keeps offers generic versions of the 2 FDA-approved medications to prevent hair loss. Treatment plans are affordable, typically half the cost of pharmacy prices. Keeps has everything your hair needs delivered straight to your door with discreet packaging and proven results. Remember, prevention is key. Treatments can take 4 to 6 months to see results, so act fast when it comes to your hair. Save more and spend less. Ladies, fellas, and everyone in between, if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/crooked to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's keeps.com/crooked to get your first month free. keeps.com/crooked.
Joining us now, she's taken on the gun lobby, Andrew Cuomo, and the Trump Organization. One more and she gets a free sub. Please welcome the Attorney General of the state of New York, Brooklyn's own Tish James. Welcome. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Is Brooklyn in the house?
Yes. Without a doubt. Can we call you General?
No.
I want to call you General.
No, don't do that. I'm just Tish from Brooklyn. Just
That's what we were instructed to call
Yeah,
the Attorney
last
General
time.
the last time. Just Tish from Brooklyn.
exactly Brooklyn hard, very hard.
Let's dive in. So last year, New York passed the public nuisance bill,
Yeah.
which allows the state to sue gun manufacturers and sellers. Connecticut has a similar law that allowed families to sue the manufacturer of the weapon used in Sandy Hook. Has the gun industry changed any of its business practices in response to this law in New York? And you could talk a little bit about how your office has begun to enforce the law.
Sure. So as you know, the state legislature created this public nuisance law because, unfortunately, the United States Congress established immunity for gun manufacturers and gun distributors. They benefit from all of that. So the legislature decided to create a gun nuisance law as an exception to this immunity law. The gun lobby decided to sue the state, basically saying that we were preempted. We defended the law, we were successful, and we are developing. And so we are looking at some fact patterns, and so stay tuned.
Okay.
Other states are looking at this right now, especially the possibility of exposing gun manufacturers to civil liability. Are there any lessons learned from New York, and in particular, the legal challenge where you successfully defended this that other blue states can use as they think about how to do this right now?
So I'm working with other Democratic attorney generals across the state and across the country, which is why it's so critically important for all of you out there to understand the role of Democratic attorney generals, particularly under the former administration, where we stood up for democracy at a time when the United States Congress was paralyzed. It was Democratic attorney generals who won over and over and over again. 85% of our cases against Donald Trump, we were successful. 85%. And we need to make sure that we elect Democratic AG. So I need all of you to support AG Nessel in Michigan, AG Ford in Nevada, AG Cowell in Wisconsin, and Keith Ellison in Minnesota. Yeah. So what we learned? We learned that certain weapons and certain manufacturers, we learned a lot about their marketing tactics. We also learned that it's tied to their marketing to children and to young people and to inner cities. And so we're looking at their practices, not only in New York, but all across this nation. And again, as I mentioned earlier, just stay tuned. We have this statute, we defended it, we were successful, and now we need to make sure that we put it into use and hold individuals, these gun manufacturers and these gun distributors, responsible and accountable for all the carnage that they are causing all across this nation.
So, boom, lawyered on guns. Let's switch to abortion.
Yeah.
Right, so we've all looked at the leaked draft Dobbs opinion. Whatever happens, it's kind of going to be a shit show.
It's going to be a shit show.
Right. Yeah. That's the legal term for it.
Yeah, that's the legal term.
Yeah. What's New York going to do, and what are other blue states going to do to shore up reproductive rights for women and pregnant persons in this state, but also in the country?
Can I just say that the attack on trans rights, the attack on reproductive care, the attack on immigrants, the attack on voting rights, and all of this, and the defense of the gun industry, they're all tied together.
Yes.
They're all tied together. You can't separate them out. And it's important that individuals understand that. And so what we are doing here in the state of New York is, one, we've passed a law. It is enshrined in the law in the state of New York. We hope that the state legislature enshrines it in our Constitution. Today is their last day. I know that they are going into the middle of the night. I hope that they pass that law and enshrine it in our Constitution. We're establishing a reproductive fund so that individuals who are underinsured or lack insurance can come to New York and seek abortions. We will provide for their transportation, their child care. Yeah. And we're standing up to those fake abortion clinics that harass individuals.
The crisis pregnancy centers.
Exactly. Those centers that harass individuals who basically come and who are seeking an abortion. Listen, everyone knows my story. I had an abortion as a city council member, and I don't make apologies to anyone. It was my decision, and it was my decision between me and my God and no one else. And people need to tell their stories. They need to tell their truths. They need to talk about how difficult it was, a difficult decision it was. How young girls used to come into my office in Fort Greene, young girls who obviously needed not only reproductive care, who basically needed health care. And so it's really critically important that we stand up for reproductive rights, that we not be treated like second-class citizens, that we have destiny over our lives, that we not be held hostage to these individuals, primarily men, no excuse, who want to take control over our lives. It's unacceptable, and we've got to stand up and fight back. And so what we've got to do, it's about autonomy. It's really about autonomy. And so I urge everyone, we've got to organize people to vote like never before, not only in New York, but all across this nation. And let people know that all of these issues are all inextricably tied to one another. And I refuse, and all of you out there, we are fucking tired of individuals holding us back. Can I say that?
You're the general.
Yeah.
You're the general.
And that we got to vote. I'm sorry for saying that. I dropped the F-bomb.
You're Tish from
please.
Brooklyn. You can say whatever you
I can
want
say
here.
that.
Say whatever you want. So, in December, you subpoenaed Donald Trump's company for written documents, notes, calendar entries, and cell phone data. He did not comply. So your office began fining him $10,000 a day.
We have $110,000 in escrow.
Nice. Again, are we in a money market? How much interest are we getting on this thing?
What did you say?
Is it in a money market? What are we getting on this?
It's in escrow.
All right.
And I would hope when we're successful, I can take those funds and distribute it to a homeless shelter or a domestic violence organization.
I'm just saying, maybe we take it, we buy the dip. So, has it changed? Has it changed the way Trump and his lawyers have cooperated with your investigation?
Well, he's still not cooperating. He's appealing, and I'm going to allow him to exhaust his appeal. At the end of the day, I'm confident that we will be successful. The reality is that he was fraudulent in evaluating his assets. We all know that he used funny numbers and his financial documents. He often used different financial documents, and he got caught. And so the evidence is clear. And this has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with the law. And the reality is that this organization should be held accountable. And some people describe it as a corporate death penalty. I don't want to go that far. All I want to do is make sure that he understands that he cannot use different assets for different organizations, for the tax department, to obtain a mortgage for insurance purposes and other purposes. And he needs to be held accountable, him and his corporation.
You were not the first person to investigate Donald Trump, although you've probably been the most successful person in investigating him. What did you learn from those previous unsuccessful investigations, and how did their work help you strategize and draft a strategy for pursuing him in this investigation?
Well, as you know, there is a criminal investigation that's ongoing by the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg. There were other investigations that were ongoing, but the reality is that we issued subpoenas. We just dug into the facts, into the evidence. It was comprehensive. It was thorough. And we've got a great group of attorneys in the Office of the Attorney General, and we just got to the facts. And at the end of the day, I am confident, 100% confident, that we will be successful in our civil action.
Do you and Fannie Willis ever get together and have like black girl magic discussions about how you're going to nail him to the wall?
I don't know. I know who she is, but I've never met her.
Okay. We got to work on that. All right.
All right, this is going to be a tough one. Yeah. Are you excited about Bill de Blasio running for Congress? And do you have a de Blasio bumper sticker on your car?
There's a number of candidates in the 10th Congressional District.
Next. Next question. Good answer. Next question. If the Nadler-Maloney race turns into a violent conflict, if the war goes hot, as many fear it might, are you prepared to intervene? Will you send peacekeeping troops to Zabar's? Will you protect? Look, the Upper West and the Upper East, it could come to blows.
Like the famous H&H versus S&S Bagel.
That could happen.
Yeah, it could happen.
History could repeat itself. If we don't learn from history, we're doomed
Let
to
me
repeat
be
it.
the adult in the room.
What did Melissa do?
I know both candidates. I respect both candidates, and it's up to the voters. But I will say that the WFP party, from which I began my start, endorsed Jerry Nadler just 2 days ago.
Last question.
Yeah.
What do I have to do to put you in a governor's race? Well, look, you wrap up these cases, you know, we frog march Donald Trump down to wherever. You're ready to, what do you think?
I'm running for re-election as the Attorney General of the great state of New York.
Okay. Okay. Well, Attorney General Tish from Brooklyn. Before we let you go, you agreed to put us to the test to see if we could understand the law as well as you do. So, John and Tommy, come back out. Did you know it's illegal to blow up a balloon on a public street in New York? It's not. That's made up. But the real indictment of our society is that it could have been true. There are obscure, arcane, bizarro laws floating around the New York Penal Code. Attorney General James and Melissa here are going to put our legal knowledge to the test in a game we're calling Law and Order New York Trivia. I don't know. We have not seen these. I have not seen these. Melissa and Tish from Brooklyn, please take it away.
Tommy, this one's for you. It's illegal to walk around New York on Sunday with an ice cream cone in your pocket. True or false?
I feel like I'm being tricked. Fuck. False.
True.
Ice cream cone in your pocket?
In your pocket.
What's the thinking there?
Listen, it happened once, things went to hell.
There goes Lovett's next Sunday. Okay.
Is that an ice cream cone in my pocket, or I'm just happy to be in New York?
There it is. There it is.
Don't clap for that.
There's this softball.
What is this?
It's like too easy. So John, you're up next.
Sure.
True or false? It is illegal to own a ferret in New York City.
True.
That is correct. This was a Jennifer Aniston movie.
Is it?
I think it was.
How'd you know
Maybe
that?
I've seen it. Maybe I don't want to admit it.
John, a follow-up in the same vein.
Oh.
It's legal to own a horse in New York City. True or false?
True.
Yeah, you're good.
There you go.
Yeah,
I know my
yeah.
New York law.
What a
Your New York
menagerie.
animal law.
Very big on the animal laws.
Okay, love it. This one is for you. True or false? It is legal to release 20 helium balloons in New York City.
20? I'm going to say false. It's an up situation.
Wrong. It is true, but 25 balloons would be illegal.
Oh, so close.
Oh, the extra 5 is a problem. Man.
Okay, Tommy, this one's a little trickier.
Okay.
It's illegal to hawk a logie?
A loogie.
A loogie?
Yeah.
All right, I'm following. Yeah.
In New York City? What the hell?
If you have a 10-year-old boy, you know
okay.
what this is.
It's like a.
What?
It's,
With
just,
the
it's
diaphragm.
spitting when you gave it your all. You know, you work
really-
up something.
it's
More of a
Get-
it's more of a Boston thing, honestly.
I was going to say it's a very Boston thing.
How dare you? Wait, the question was, it's illegal to hawk a loogie?
Yes.
True.
Got it.
Nice.
No loogie hawking in New
Yeah.
York.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
That seems like. Yeah.
It's a good rule.
It's manners, but you know.
Okay, a weird one for John. It's illegal to hunt moths under a streetlight in New York City.
What?
It's a serious question, guys.
Serious question.
True or false? Don't sweat. Don't sweat.
True.
It is true in Los Angeles, though.
It is?
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
So much for my animal
Interesting.
law expertise. Went right out the window.
Can't take the California bar now. You're done. All right. Speaking of weird and esoteric, love it.
Yes. Wow. Okay. Fine.
So
Homophobia.
hard. This feels up your alley. It is illegal to take a selfie with a tiger in the state of New York. True or false? You are the Tiger King.
These are so
I'm going to say it's true. I think you shouldn't be allowed to do that.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's very dangerous.
job.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
Okay, a modern one for John. It's illegal to dance at any New York City bar or restaurant without a cabaret license. They all know the answer.
Is that for?
It was for you.
For me? False.
What?
It's false.
Oh.
But that law was on the books until 2017.
It was
Wow.
like Footloose.
Way to go.
I pushed to get it repealed.
Yeah, he was on the. He got
was
that.
on the committee. I wanted to
we
dance.
marched for that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get my license.
Yeah.
Footloose
Go
over
through
here.
that process.
On the
Yeah.
other side.
We took Kevin Bacon over here. Took on the powers that be.
Tommy, this one is for you, and it's
Okay.
perhaps the weirdest one yet.
I'm losing too.
True or false, it is legal to sell dog hair in New York.
True?
False. It is illegal to sell the fur, hair, flesh, or skin of a dog or a cat.
Well, that's a good rule. And that's the game. The winner is Attorney General Tish James. Thank you so much for being
you
here.
so much.
One more time for New York's Attorney General Tish from Brooklyn. Thank you so much. Before we let you good people go, there's a person we'd like to wish a very happy birthday to. Please bring out the cake. And everybody, let's do it.
Oh my gosh.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday
The song feels so long now.
to you. Happy
I hold that, right? Thanks, my lord.
dear John.
He's so uncomfortable.
This is so good.
Do I blow?
Big 5-0.
There, for the cameras. Thank you, guys.
Happy birthday, John.
Happy birthday,
This is-
John.
This is my 41st birthday party right here.
Hey,
He can't
Thank
eat
you all
because
for
he's
coming.
keto.
Also, thank you to Letitia James. Thank you to Melissa Murray. Thank you to Will Westlake. Thank you, and a special thanks to MSG Entertainment and the Beacon Theater. And everyone, for my birthday present, please go to votesaveamerica.com and sign up right now. Thank you so much. Thank you, New York.
Bye, everybody.